Welcome back everyone, this is MandoAllDay, back with another video, and in this video, I'll be doing an overview of Batman, the Batman of Gotham hardcover, volume 2. I'll be talking about a little bit of story, the art, and then of course, if it's worth your purchase or not. Before we get started, make sure you hit the subscribe button, turn on the support channel, but to keep up to date and watch videos like this. So, let's take a look at the front of the dust jacket, the spine, the back, and I'll do a full spread image of the dust jacket. Pretty cool art. Alright, front of the book, the spine, the back, and I'll show you a full spread image of the art itself, which I really like the art. Alright, now let's take a look at what's inside. So, what is this book about? This is volume 2 from the previous book, which is going to be Batman Failsafe, volume 1 by Chip Zdarsky. I believe that's how you pronounce his name. And so, you might want to read that before you read this, because they reference that book, what happens in that book, a lot. Especially the first half. A little bit towards the end, but the first half, though, they do reference a lot regarding Failsafe. So, you've been warned. But, with that said, what is this book about? So the book starts off with Batman waking up at a random alley or street. And he notices right away something is off, something is different, something is just not normal. Story progresses, and it comes to find out that Batman is actually in a different universe. He figures it out pretty darn quickly, and so now Batman has to do is figure out how to get back to his universal world. Meanwhile, also try to save this particular Gotham. And that is the gist of Batman's story. And again, Batman's story. I say this because there are two different stories going on here. We have the Batman story, which is the main one. And the second one is going to be about Robin or Tim Drake. And Robin's story is about Tim Drake trying to find Batman location. Tim Drake doesn't believe that Batman has died. And so Tim Drake teams up with other individuals, which I'm not going to say because I don't want to spoil it, to try to find and locate Batman. And that is the gist of this whole entire book. Again, two different stories. Batman is in another universe trying to get back, and Tim Drake is trying to locate where Batman is at. With that said, I really enjoyed this book. This book is a lot of fun. Just like the first book, in terms of Failsafe, it's a lot of fun. It's a really good book. It's interesting. A little unique, a little weird, but it works. Overall, it works. But I will say, though, it's not perfect, because there is a bit of an issue with this book, and I'll talk about that in a bit. But what I like about this book, one, is action-packed. So if you're looking for a Batman story that's straight to the point, simple premise, action-packed, this is it. And I'm telling you, it's very action-packed. There's a lot going on here. I don't want to say too much, I'll spoil it, but there's some surprises because, well, one, Batman is in a different universe, so you see certain characters, again, I don't want to spoil it, that are different, and it's really interesting to see that. And, of course, seeing Batman try to figure out how to get back, and, of course, Batman being, well, Batman, a detective, and trying to help people and so forth. That part's really interesting, but, again, seeing all these cameos, especially towards the end, because towards the end, you get some cameos for certain characters where I'm like, oh, okay, this is fun. This is really, really fun. My biggest complaint, though, is going to be the villain. The villain isn't bad. It's just his motivation for what this villain is doing is kind of like they could have done something different. And I don't want to say too much, 'cause I'll spoil it, but it seems like the writer was like, you know what, I want to do this kind of ending where I do all this crazy stuff. I'm trying to be vague, so I don't want to give it away, but essentially, the writer wanted to do something crazy, and so they added this plot to this villain in order for Batman can go into this adventure with this craziness. I know it sounds weird and a bit vague, because I don't want to spoil it, because if I spoil it, it'll ruin the surprise. Because I went into this book not knowing anything, and I will say I was definitely surprised, and I enjoyed every page toward the end. Again, I'm not going to talk about it, but if you read it, you'll know what I'm talking about. But apart from the villain, though, Everything else, it's a lot of fun, man. Like I said, it's action packed. The pacing is really good, well put together. Tim Drake, you really see him struggle because he feels like, you know what? It's my fault. It's my fault that Batman's died. Even though he doesn't believe Batman is dead, but it's his responsibility. That's what he thinks is his responsibility of what happened to Batman. And of course, seeing Batman in a different world, trying to adapt, it's always fun. And him being, well, Batman, he's always putting pieces together, trying to do multiple things at the same time, and just seeing that all collide. I gotta say, this is a really, really fun book. And if you like Batman Failsafe, you're definitely gonna like this. Even though Batman Failsafe had one part, which regarding the space part, where he uses underwear to get into the atmosphere, which is a whole different subject. But for the most part, though, this particular book, I gotta say, I really, really enjoyed it. The paper quality is matte, which bit unfortunate because some of the art here actually looks really, really nice. But paper quality is matte. But the art, though, I gotta say, it's actually really good overall. There are some images where it's like, damn, this is really dope. Like, for instance, here, look at this creepy Joker. Imagine this in the glossy paper. He will look even more creepier. And so, paper quality is matte. The art is, like I said, it's really good. Some parts really stands out. Like, dude, this is a perfect screenshot. So, I wish it came with the glossy paper, but it's fine nonetheless. Do you need to have prior knowledge? As I mentioned, yes, you do. You definitely want to read Volume 1. Because if you don't read Volume 1, you may be lost. Because they do reference, like I said, a lot about Failsafe. What happens in Volume 1. Like the first half. Second half, not really. It's more of the story, like the main plot. Towards the end, they do reference more in terms of what happened in Volume 1. But for the most part, though, I gotta say, the first half is going to be about, or a lot about, Failsafe Volume 1 hardcover. So, yes, definitely read that one. Because if you do, it'll make more sense and it gives more context to this particular story and exactly what happens here. The pacing is above average. Very, very, very few moments where it dips into the average territory. But for the most part, it's going to be above average. It's just a fun read, like I said, very action-packed. So overall, what do I give this book? I really enjoy this book. This is a fun read, man. If you want to read a simple story, straight to the point, where it picks up pacing-wise in the right moments, where it's like, okay, in this part of the book or story, this is what Batman has to do, and it just keeps going and going and going. This is for you, man. Like I said, you definitely want to read Volume 1, because if you don't, you will be lost in here, especially the first half, like I mentioned. But man, the story is fun and interesting. Yes, the premise, you probably have read it before, because I don't want to say too much what exactly is going on, especially towards the end. It has been told before, but you know what, though? There was a bit of a twist and turns in how this was executed on here, and I enjoyed it. So, what do I give this book? Thumbs up, man. This is a fun read. If you like Volume 1, definitely check this out, read it. I'm telling you, you're going to have a great time with it. Especially towards the end, when there's certain cameos, certain appear, you're going to be like, what? And that was my reaction. It was like, what? This character's in here? Oh, this character's in here? What? And like, it just gets crazy towards the end. So once again, what do I give Batman, the Batman of Gotham, Volume 2 hardcover? Easily gets a thumbs up from me. Definitely check this out. It's a fun read. If you like Volume 1, you're going to love Volume 2. Let me know what you guys think. Have you read this book? Do you plan on reading this book? Leave it in the comment section below. As always, make sure you hit the subscribe button to not only support the channel, but to keep up to date and watch videos like this. This includes an overview of Batman, the Batman of Gotham, Volume 2 hardcover, and on to the next one.